Well, welcome into Season 3 of Life Journey. I'm Dr. Ralph Smith. First of all, we want to thank everyone who's followed us now into our third year, and we appreciate all the comments on our website, which is, of course, www.ginnymarie.wellness, and really the best way to do it is just GINNYM, and then wellness, WELLNESS.com. And feel free to send us any of your comments or any questions or anything you may have, and also some ideas of what shows you'd like me to do. I'm purposely going to take this season and deal with some real serious, heavy-duty subjects. We tried to keep it rather light in the first 2 years, but as you may be aware, a lot of our patients throughout Idaho, Eastern Oregon, and Washington, they watch these films and it's part of their projects. And so I'm going to kind of step it up a little bit and make them a little bit more, let's say, dramatic as far as that's concerned. However, we will put the disclaimers on if we get in areas that are not appropriate for children under the age of 16. Today's program is going to be one that I love doing. It's my third and final book that I'm writing, which basically involves don't live life in the rearview mirror. And I have found in my practice, since I've been practicing since the dinosaurs left, that a lot of people have trouble living for the future. They always want to live in the past. I've seen most big people, and it comes from all economic brackets, there's a lot of people that spend more time being concerned about their, quote, failures than celebrating their victories. And I find the same thing in raising children. And we're going to do a parenting show in episode 2 today that is all about catching your kids doing something right, not always trying to catch them doing something wrong. And it's just how you apply the perspective of what you want in life. So let's talk a little bit about this third book I'm writing and some of the key focus points that we can discuss today and hopefully you can grow from. First of all, picture yourself driving in a car and you spend 70% of your time looking in the rearview mirror or a side mirror. How long do you think you'd go down the highway or the city or whatever, highways, whatever, before you ended up hitting somebody and crashing your car, perhaps getting hurt? Well, life is the same way. If you spend all your time dwelling on the past, and what if this happened, or if I could have done that, or whatever, you're just going to cause yourself probably a pretty quick case of depression. And then you're going to find a guy like me and you're going to pay him $200 an hour to talk you out of that depression. Save the money. Here's what you do. Take an attitude in life that no matter how long the Lord gives us, and some of us are still going full force in their 60s, and others, we lose at a very early age. And you hear the expression, the good die young. Well, I guess that means I'm a pretty bad person then. But the bottom line is you learn from the past. That's why if you're driving a car and you have to make a quick stop, you quickly look in your rear view mirror to see if someone's following too closely and you're going to get hit in the back. Well, life's the same way. If you take your life and all the challenges and the adventures of life per se, and you have these situations that are bad things turn up. They could be problems raising children. It could be bad marriages, multiple marriages. It could be bankruptcy. It could be your own psychological health. A lot of times medical health, there's not a lot we can do, but psychological health. All these things will keep plaguing you if you don't take the time to stop and look at the past. And how you do that? Well, here's how you do it. Let's say, for an example, that you have a challenge of not having enough money. And you spend so much time worrying about not having enough money, and you dwell on that. And then you start where you can't sleep at night. It affects your intimacy. It affects everything you do, where you come to work with a bad attitude. Well, there's another way to look at that. You go and you look back at that challenge and say, what can I do to release some of this debt so I don't have to continue worrying about it? What can I do to make extra money? You may have to leave a job and take another job to make more money. There's a lot of solutions. But the thing is, you got to move forward because life has so much to give to you. You got to take part of your life and block out time to have fun with your family and family members. I'm a big proponent of family council, and we'll talk more about that in episode 2. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you always want to learn from the past so that you can correct it and then live for the future. I'll give you an example in baseball talk. If you were making decisions and you got one decision right for every 4, you would probably be committed to a hospital somewhere or see me once a week. And yet 1 out of 4, if you were a shortstop or a second baseman for the Mariners, that would be considered quite good because it means that you'd have a 250 batting average, that 1 out of every 4 times you get to bat, you're going to get that base hit or home run or whatever the case might be. Well, unfortunately in life, we don't play it like baseball is played. We deal with consequences. We hopefully reach out for help and advice. We look at our lives and keep readjusting them on what's important, what's not important. And we kind of take the attitude that time is a precious gift, especially when you get older and you find there's a lot of things you can no longer do. And you look back at your youth and say, boy, have I done this, or have I done that. So when I talk about not living life in the rearview mirror, what I'm talking about is I want you to learn from your past mistakes and your past challenges. Come up with some solutions and then try not to repeat the same mistake. And I guarantee you if you do that, you're going to live a lot happier life. Now there's also another approach of not living in a rearview mirror, and that's the approach of solutions rather than suggestions or excuses. Solutions is a lot like when you get a cut. You might get lucky someday and get a cut, and all you have to do is put a Band-Aid on it. It's just real simple. Put on some special antibiotic lotion on it, and lo and behold, when that Band-Aid falls off a week later or whatever, it's like you never had a cut. Wouldn't it be wonderful if life was like that? That everything was just a small cut, you could throw a Band-Aid on it, put some antibiotics on it, or whatever the case might be, and then just move on. Well, unfortunately, life is not that simple. It's much more complicated. And yet a lot of people take the attitude that they just want to put temporary solutions, which we call, in my business, Band-Aids on it. That we're going to put a Band-Aid on this, it'll be fine. Or if the radiator hose is leaking in your car, boy, duct tape will work for everything. We'll just put some duct tape on it. And if a car battery doesn't work well, we'll just kind of move it around a little bit and take some of that residue off. Those are Band-Aid approaches. And the trouble with Band-Aid approaches in life is that if you take that approach, you never solve the problem. Then lo and behold, you're down the road 40 miles and you realize that not only is your radiator hose leaking again, the engine's running hot, you're burning up your engine. That's about $3,000. So you got to approach life the same way. Is you look at these mistakes, you look at these challenges, you look at your relationships, and you say to yourself, you know what? I want to just peek in that rearview mirror and see what's going on in my life, but I want to focus 100% of my attention going forward. I want to create goals and successes ahead of my life. I want to involve people in my life that I truly love and that love me. I want to go ahead and build my career based on what point of life you're in, so I can make more money, so I don't have to worry about my bills. Because the neat thing about it, if you make more money, you basically buy yourself out of the bills by making more money. And after your bills go away, that's even more money in your pocket. So you try to take the positive aspects of taking that rearview mirror and only looking on it if you need to glance and see what's going on behind you. It's the same thing if you change lanes. Now I know they have all these warning systems now on these fancy cars, like the kind of cars that Sean drives. But the bottom line is, most people drive the older cars like I do. And if you don't carefully look when you change lanes, you've got people that drive in the blind spots. And especially, older people and younger people, they don't understand you can't drive in a blind spot because all of a sudden if you shift lanes, there'll be an accident and the person that shifts lane will be blamed. But look at all the trouble you go through. So what I guess I'm saying to you on life is, look and try to, like you're changing lanes, check all those mirrors. Get input from people. Get advice. And when you get that advice and input, don't take a position that on that input that those people will think, well, if I don't do it, I don't value your advice. That's not the purpose of advice. Advice means exactly what it says. You're facing a situation, I like to call them challenges. You know what you think you need to do, but there's people that you value, their friendship or their intellect or whatever the case might be. Or maybe someone's gone through some of the difficulties that you're going through right now. It could be substance abuse. There are a number of things that can pull you under the water. So you look in that rearview mirror, you look in that side view mirror, and then you figure out, what can I do to avoid that problem or making that problem again? And that's just so important. So you want to make a point of doing that and making that a top priority as far as in your life. Finally, before we take the break, I want to throw another subject at you. And that's subject of relationships. When a relationship causes you constant anguish or stress or a feeling that your energy is being drained out of you, that's not a healthy relationship. Again, back to the rearview mirror. is the best kind of friendships that I have are people that are there for you because they want to be there, not for what they're going to get out of it. That you share the responsibility of a healthy friendship by doing things together. You don't leave the other friend all the bills every time you go to the restaurant. But more importantly, a relationship has to be good for both parties. If you've been actively involved in the business life, let me tell you, and you can ask any of these guys, I've built a few companies in my lifetime, is if the deal's not good for both parties, someone's going to complain and someone is going to drop out. And then you have to start all over again. So life relationships are the same thing. Check the rearview mirror, see what's coming up behind you, check your side mirrors, see what's going there, and then make solutions. Because if you can make a solution, you probably won't have to visit it again. And if you're unsure about that, it's really important to understand in the relationships of a rearview mirror, seek people's advice. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you don't know the answer. It doesn't mean that you're taking advantage of somebody. You're taking that person and their life experiences from how they've been raised, the wisdom they've gathered in raising families, having a successful business career, and you're taking that and you just want a little piece of that. And you say, you know, Bob, I tell you, I'm having a heck of a time to have a good attitude when I go to work. Man, when that alarm goes off, I jump in the shower. I don't even want to go. I want to get back in the bed and curl up again. Did you have those kind of issues? And Bob, if he's telling you the truth, will say, sure, I did. And when he says that, yeah, I did, and then you got to ask the key question. What did you do to get past it? And he might have changed jobs. He might have got his relationships better, his personal relationships. He might have got more involved with his kids. So every once in a while he'd check, and instead of writing on the wall like my folks did with me, how tall you're getting and putting that line with the pencil, you start thinking, man, these kids are growing up so fast. Maybe I need to have fun with them, and how important it is to spend time with them, because they're going to learn lessons from you that we'll talk about on our parenting show that they're going to have with their kids. I speak from experience on that. I really do. So to sum this up, one of the things that we want to do on looking in the rearview mirror is look at it for guidance. Look at it occasionally where you are in life. Side view mirror, same thing. And then assess yourself. You know, you can make the calendar be one of the best things in the world for you as far as one of your tools. You can actually turn around and make goals each and every month and write them down. Create your partnerships. If your wife or significant other has to help, or some of your kids, or your mom or your dad, if you're still blessed enough to still have them here, make partners. And then at the end of the month, you can hold yourself accountable by what you accomplished. And if it's a challenge, or if it's something negative, then the best thing to do is have a good approach, no band-aids, have a good approach, resolve it, throw it in your basket, and don't worry about it. And just learn from the lesson of what you did to solve it, because maybe someday you will be Bob, and some friend of yours will come to you seeking advice. So that talks about the rearview mirror a little bit. But let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we take this quick break, I want you to reflect on these things. Start while you're, maybe even after the show. But start writing down 3 or 4 items. I like to do everything in threes. Have 3 kids, no 3 wives though. But anyway, go ahead and write down a list. Boy, if I could get rid of 1 problem, 2 problems, I'd do 3. Write them down. And then when you write those problems down, then seek counsel of someone you trust who's had life lessons, and start working on solutions. And then the next month, you'll have another 3, until finally you're going to feel complete as a human being. When we get back from this break, we're going to talk about going forward, whether it's driving a car or building relationships, and making sure you don't judge yourself too harshly. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Life's Journey. I'm Dr. Ralph Smith, and we're focusing on not living life in a rearview mirror. In our first segment that we had before our break, we talked about all the possible things that would cause you to live in a rearview mirror, and literally live in a rearview mirror by focusing so much that you're going to crash that nice car of yours. And so we've talked enough about that. Did you take the time to make that list? For my clients and patients of Jenny Marie Wellness, I want you to take that list and make it part of your project when you watch this show. And what I want you to do on that list, and then we're going to talk about driving forward, is make the list of an item, the cause of the item, and your solution. Let me give you a good example. It's something that bothers people all the time, especially after they've been married a while. They come into my office and say, Dr. Ralph, the intimacy is just not there. You know, I don't know, I don't feel the excitement anymore. The wife doesn't really care, or the significant other. We're just kind of bumping around, you know, like a bump on a log. And now it's not even exciting anymore. It's almost a dramatic task. And by dramatic, I mean having to figure out the right environment to even have intimacy. And when someone tells me that, and believe me, a lot of the women especially tell me that, the apparent causes could be, well, you know, especially in the case of the women or men, they've gained a lot of weight. And when the women have these babies, you know, they got to try to get rid of, quote, the baby fat. They may find that they're growing apart because the husband or the significant other is not there very much. So you don't have a lot of things in common. And then when it comes down to the weekends, you're exhausted, or the kids have a bunch of activities, especially if they have soccer and baseball and football and all these different sports they play, basketball. And so you find yourself running on weekends where before the kids came along, that was time that you guys could both work together, not think about work, stay late in the old bedroom, make a breakfast in the bed type of thing, or go on nice little drives. And that kind of affects the excitement of an intimate relationship. So how do you get around that? Well, believe it or not, and it is true, that people do have intimacy even after they have kids. I know you might not believe that. You read those kind of magazines, but it's true. But I'll tell you why it's true. Because they create the proper environment to be able to enjoy those intimacies. They've got their life under control. They're not worried about paying a house payment. They're not worried about that electric bill that goes out of sight in the summertime when the air conditioners are running. They've got good kids that are getting good grades. They're building good friends bases. Their act is getting together. It's bang, 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 bang. Well, for you to be able to go forward, and I tell my patients and clients this all the time, write it down. You know, so many people will tell me, they say, Dr. Ralph, when I sit in these sessions with you, I hear what you say. I make notes. But the same problem keeps coming up. And I go, well, making notes is fine if you're interviewing me for a newspaper article. But how about in your life? You've got to cover all three bases. You can make 3 columns, whatever you want to do. So let's just give a hypothetical example. Lack of intimacy. It's one of the common complaints you hear as far as marriages and relationships breaking up. The worst year is year 1. The second worst year is year 7, when adjustments have to be made with new careers coming about, kids coming into the picture. Year 7 is the second worst year. And surprisingly enough, and this is most tragic, year 25 plus is the third biggest. And there's a lot of people that end up going through that, where these are especially people who have fallen out of love with each other, who put so much focus on their family, they forget that the base of that family is built with love between the partners. Intimacy starts dropping off. All these type of things hit it. And the other thing that is really tough to talk about, and thank God for the women's movement now, women are able to go out and make a career and at least make 80 cents out of every dollar that a man makes, which is ridiculous, but that's our environment today, is that they're not left stranded. You know, I can remember growing up as a kid, I was blessed because I had a stay-at-home mom. And I've always said when in my earlier practices and things I dealt with abused women and things like that, and kids that have drug problems and things, is that when we started having latchkey kids, which means they either come home and take care of themselves or they'd have somebody come in and take care of them, the problems soon follow. I was blessed to be able to have a stay-at-home mom. I was blessed that my father made enough money that he could support the family. But back in those days when he did all those things, my mom did all those things, you know, our house we bought in La Mirada, California for a little over $17,000. There's a big difference. Where today it does take both incomes normally to be able to, quote, have that good life. So let's say the lack of intimacy is the one problem. So boom, we write that down on our list. Cause. Well, if you're truthful and honest, you'll solicit the advice of your partner who's probably feeling the same thing but never wanted to bring it up. What is causing us not to have the intimacy? Is it the fact we don't spend time talking to each other? Is it the fact that we've got kids around us all the time and we don't have that private time? Is it the fact that we've gained weight, we don't find each other sexually attractable? What is the thing that causes that? That's the key question. Well, I got news for you. It's probably all of those and above. And what it is, it's just not a priority. You've got to plan your life like you do at work with a business planner. Most of my patients I deal with, the first thing I buy them is a business planner that breaks down the days of each week and then also does it by month. So people have to write things down on what they're supposed to do. And that gives them the accountability they need to have successes. We never spend enough time to enjoy our successes, but we will be able to get real upset and moody about challenges that didn't quite reach the levels we want. Celebrate your successes. So what you're going to find is it's real simple, and I'm not creating a new theory here. I don't have to write a fourth book. We lose the touch of courtship. Think back to the days and driving forward in a relationship where you had courtship. You really wanted to impress this gal. So man, you'd have that car cleaned up. You get all those burger wrappers out of the trunk of your car or in your glove box or whatever. You wanted to impress her. And man, you got the right cologne on. You go up there with plenty of time left over to be able to go for a little drive, maybe a little dinner. And then your precious somebody would come out of the house all dolled up. And it can be done in reverse, men and women both. And then you'd actually have lots to talk about. Yeah, this is before kids. This is before all those things. But that courtship was a wonderful thing. And then you turn around and you take turns to say, where do you want to go? Maybe this one particular weekend, you want to go to the theater and see that recent new release. Maybe you want to go play miniature golf. It sounds crazy, but people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, even their 70s, do play miniature golf. Who knows what it is? But it should be something that both parties want to enjoy. And if everything works out right, when you go home in that courtship after marriage or committed relationship, you might be surprised at the reaction you get. People do not take the time to have courtship in their personal relationships and take the time to allocate parenting, career, relationships, your relationship with God. There's a lot of things going on. So I would suggest to you in going forward, instead of looking in the rearview mirror, think about what's important in your relationship. If intimacy is the main focus, or that you don't talk to each other, list the cause, and then list the solution. Now, when you move over to the solution side of the equation, that's where you get your significant other, your partner, where you both come up with a solution. And say, Jane, if we did this, would you enjoy that? Would you enjoy, like let's say, once a month, going across, like in our case, here in Port Angeles, we have Victoria. I mean, we can get on that big boat, and it's $38 round trip. And it's a beautiful 45-minute drive. If you don't believe me, watch one of the Positively Port Angeles shows with Sherry Kidd. She did a whale trip that they did once, and also visiting Victoria. It's not all that expensive. So those type of things are something you can look forward to. And if you want to involve your kids, then yes, take a weekend where the kids are part of the solution. Go camping. Go do some things that they enjoy doing. Maybe you can go down and catch a baseball game. The Mariners bleacher tickets are $10. It's not a big deal. But make it involved with the kids. And the other 2 weekends of the month, assuming there's 4 weekends in a month, just take the time to do things around the house. Have some fun. Maybe switch roles. If mom is cooking normally in the weekends, Papa Bear takes care of it. And have the kids involved with it. These are the type of things, and we'll talk more about that in parenting. So that is an example of not looking rearview mirror and going forward. Another area that you can look at, boom, challenge, is happiness in your job. A lot of people are frustrated with their jobs because they're barely making it, and they equate their efforts versus what they get paid, and they think that's the boss's fault. It's not. If you're working a job that is not fulfilling for you, and it doesn't make enough money to be able to pay your bills and have enough left over to have that fun we talked about with the kids and your significant other, it is incumbent upon you to do one of two things. Either you need to ask for a raise and be able to back that up with all the things you've done to help make that company money, or second of all, bite the nickel, and literally that's an expression, it's old man expression, but you bite the nickel and you find another opportunity that'll give you the freshness and the wages that you need. And then you give your notice 2 weeks and you move on in life. Because every day you spend unhappy and not interfacing with your kids is a day that's gone. You know, I've got this beautiful place in Port Angeles where I sit in my recliner and I watch my 55-inch TV, and I'm a real TV addict, so that's on there 20 out of 24 hours a day. But one of the things I look forward to is I look toward the west out of my home there, and I see every sunset, assuming we have times when it doesn't rain. And you know, I look at that sunset, I really appreciate the beauty of that sunset. And then when it's gone, that is one day gone. And unfortunately, with my health situation, with a couple strokes and one time nearly dying, believe me, you really appreciate life. And you take the approach of what can I do to get more out of life, because there's no guarantee how long you're going to be there. So enjoying life and doing the things that make life so much fun is what you got to do. And don't give me the excuse that it costs a lot of money. It does not cost a lot of money. Yes, when Linda and I first dated when we were in high school, you go down to McDonald's, get a couple of sodas, a couple of hamburgers, 2 orders of fries, and do it for $5, and then take the local drive-in theater, which are hard to find now, for $2. You get to watch 2 movies. I realize that $7 doesn't get much nowadays. But also in those days, I was making $1.85 working at Jaguar Texaco, and Linda was making about $1.65 working for Tasty Freeze. Everything's relative. So you want to make sure that you do that. Okay? The third and the final example I'll give to you about driving forward and not looking in your rearview mirror is the issue about your children. I don't remember what book it was. It might have been something Dr. Phil said. I don't know. But they always talk about the fact that anybody could be a father, but it takes a real person to be a dad. And the same thing can apply with women, because they're out building their careers and stuff. And it's so easy to get a babysitter perhaps, or a nanny if you have a lot of money, and let somebody else raise your kids. Because you can say, well, we need to do that because we need both incomes. But I don't think you need that 7 days a week. Take the time to enjoy your children, because every lesson that you try to teach them is a lesson they're going to take forward with your grandchildren. And so the best way to do it is teach the kids to enjoy the things in life that are fun. Listen to them. Put down all your electronics and your cell phone and all that. When a child talks to you, look into that child's eyes. And if the child looks away, you do something when I used to coach T-ball. You do this. Say, see my nose? And believe me, this Italian nose, they can see it. Make them understand that everything else in your life doesn't matter. Their attention and their successes and them going through adventures in life are your number one paramount concern. Being a good father or being a good mother is not conception. That's the spark. It's taking those children through the 18 to 21 years, have them graduate from high school or college or the university, and let them take that first step in adulthood. Hopefully have them find the right partners, and then wait for that phone call someday when you find out that your grandkids are coming, and they're going to be pregnant, and they're going to be your grandchild in the spring. It's referred to as the cycle of life. So if you spend more attention of things going forward and not working with all the items in the past, except to learn from the past, you yourself will be a better person. And when you're a better person, we have a better society. It can be done. You just got to make your mind up. On behalf of Jenny Marie Wellness Centers, and we sure welcome you to visit us, and you can Google search us, and of course the whole staff of Jenny Marie Wellness, I thank you for tuning into the show. You take care of yourself, and God bless.